Hello, hello, welcome back to the Lavender Lounge. Today we are doing apartments again, but each unit is going to be inspired by a different book I read in July. Now, for my fellow Booktube friends, think of this as my version of a July reading wrap-up. I'm also curious for my fellow readers out there, if this is something that you would want to see in months moving forward. I can't promise that I would do every month, but, especially in months where I read less than 10 books, this could be a fun little way to kind of digest those. Quick disclaimer, only the exterior is going to be in the speed build format today. After we get through the exterior, the rest of the video, you will be building along with me. Alright, so this month I read 8 books. My average rating out of 5 stars was a 3.7. Genre-wise, I read a little bit of everything, which I was not expecting going into the month. I read 2 memoirs, 2 romances, 1 sci-fi, 1 contemporary fiction, 1 horror, and 1 historical fiction. Now, one of those romances is definitely a form of historical fiction, so just kind of take that as you will. The books I read this month are, and I'm going to tell you in the order that I read them. First, I read You Should Be So Lucky by Sebastian, Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix, Summer in the City by Aster, Trauma Plot by Jamie Hood, The Amazing Adventures of an Amish Stripper by Naomi Swartzentruber, The Girls Who Grew Big by Leila Mottley, Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman, and Lucky Red by Claudia Cravens. As you can see for the exterior, I did decide to go with a Second Empire style apartment building. I really wanted something that sort of felt like it could have been a fancy old library situated in the middle of New York or something, so that's why I went with that. My gallery ID is in the description box below if you want to download this build. Just please make sure you have the include custom content checked if you want to be able to find it. Alright, so we're going to actually do the apartments in the order of my least favorite book moving up to my favorite. And because I made these apartments so small, I was just so invested in the shape and style of this building that I did not think about the size of the apartments. But you know what? It's fine. That means that we're going to include the entryway and the top stair landing up here as like a room, and then that way we have 8 rooms and we can for sure do a room for each book. So since I'm starting with the book that I liked the least, which was Summer in the City by Aster, I'm going to give that book the entryway. And I think the plan is that I'm just going to kind of chat about my feelings on the books and just chat with you while I'm doing the rooms. But Summer in the City was extremely popular. Why is this black or white? I'm so confused. Yeah, Summer in the City has been extremely popular. I guess she was her book became popular on TikTok. Like, she wrote it kind of like on TikTok. And so when it was released, it obviously garnered a lot of attention. And I'm not on TikTok, but I definitely saw the hype around the book. I just didn't get it. Honestly, I was a little bored. I thought that the characters in this book were extremely annoying, especially the girl. I feel like the main character was like super whiny and like didn't appreciate anything. And basically, like, the girl in this book is a screenwriter, and she's like learning about New York City for the screenplay that she's actively writing. And she ends up staying in her sister's hotel, who, like, the hotel is like coincidentally owned by this guy who she had like a previous connection with. And I'm not gonna like spoil the book in case you want to read it, but yeah, this guy's like really rich, and he basically gives her anything she wants, and she's a spoiled brat about it. And I just didn't connect with it. This book had like a lot of people like by the throat, like absolutely obsessed with this book, and it was just not for me. I don't know. if I'm the problem or what, but it was not for me. Because she lives in a super luxurious New York apartment, like penthouse style, I'm gonna try to turn this entryway into like a really fancy New York apartment lobby. Okay, I'm just gonna go with this big, super modern light from the Dine Out kit, which is or Dine Out pack, which is something I never get to use. I'm gonna try to get everything to look ultra modern. So if I sort by modern, what shows up? This is so bright. I need to hone that down. There we go. Okay, this rug could work, and we could do it in one of these like weird geometric shapes in like the black swatch. Maybe put that just like in the middle of the room. I think that we could get a little table here. I was not expecting Dine Out to make an appearance today. And I'm so sorry about the camera angle with this room. It's just gonna be weird because of this light. Actually, what if I just get rid of that for a second while I'm decorating, and then I'll replace it here in a second. Let's grab a big old flower pot. You know, like those obnoxiously fake flowers that they put in the entryway of all those hotels in Gossip Girl. That's what I'm thinking of. Like this. Oh yeah, we'll definitely go with the white. And then I feel like we need a random fancy sculpture on here. And maybe like a little lamp or something. Ooh, wait. This decor to the max mirror is perfect. In fact, I think maybe trying to fit one by the stairs too. Ooh, this diamond lamp from Get Famous would be perfect. I've literally never used this before, but I do think this is the time. I'm gonna size this rug up just a little bit. Lastly, I'm gonna try to stick in like a big ridiculous floor plant in one of these corners. Maybe here by the door. Maybe we'll do that with the gold and the white. Why would there only be one mailbox? I don't know. Okay, I feel like that kind of works, right? Like everybody gets a mailbox and they're just stacked on top of each other. And that's 6 mailboxes for 6 apartments. And you know, we could even like put a little bit of clutter and put like a little package out on the ground. Move our light back in, and that is going to do it for the entryway of the apartment, representing Summer in the City by Aster. Again, my least favorite book in the series, but it does provide a really good... Oh, hold on. Let me paint the ceiling. Okay, anyways, I think it's super simple, but it gets the like modern New York penthouse style apartment vibes across. Something else that's a really big representation of the character in this movie is that she's a screenplay writer, but I don't really know how I would incorporate that. So I feel like the New York lobby vibe was the best thing I could do. So now we are going to move on to the next room. All right, moving on to 7th place is The Amazing Adventures of an Amish Stripper by Naomi Swartzentruber. I'm definitely butchering her last name. I'm gonna give this one an apartment because I've been looking forward to this theme for quite some time. So I think we're gonna just give her one of the smaller ones since it's not my favorite book that I read this month. This book is a memoir. It's an erotic memoir, and it is basically about a girl who leaves her like Amish home, Amish lifestyle, Amish family, eventually becomes a stripper. Now a lot happens between her leaving and becoming a stripper, but her just telling her story of life, like, you know, never really using electricity, never, you know, riding in cars and having like friends in the real world and being homeschooled. I really recommend reading it. I promise you it is like nothing you've ever read before. So that's about all I can say. So my idea for this build is to make it like an Amish style home, but put a little dance corner in here for her. You know, why not? So we'll go with this like notched and like broken wood and this wood paneling. And this one's going to be tough because it's a really small apartment. So I think I'm going to go ahead and start with the bathroom, and I'm not going to think too hard about it, but I am going to try to make this apartment entirely off the grid. We'll give her the wooden tub. Okay, where should I draw the line at this bathroom though? Okay, we'll put the door to the bathroom there. Oh wait, no, I think this barrel tub is way better. And actually in the book, she talks about how they use an outhouse, and they don't even have a bathroom like in their house. But obviously in an apartment, that's not going to be the case. But it's so interesting how like they even didn't have, like, not only did they not have plumbing like in their house, but they literally, it wasn't even in their house. They had to like go outside to go to the bathroom. That sounds like a nightmare, and definitely something we take for granted, I fear. We'll put some lanterns all around. They have plenty of light to shower and whatnot. Okay, that's looking cute. And then I wonder if there would be like anything on the walls. Definitely lots of wood in this apartment because they probably hand make everything for the most part. And then we can maybe stick like a little plant here next to the bathtub just to kind of liven up the place a little bit. I think that's going to do it for the bathroom. I don't know what else like we would include, but I've got, you know, a makeshift curtain up, added a little spider web, put some cleaning supplies in the corner, some more lighting, some picture frames, some scuffs on the wall since, you know, they probably built this house with their bare hands. Got the little toilet over there, and yeah, I think we can go ahead and move on to the kitchen. For the kitchen, it's going to be very basic, and it needs to be off the grid. Oh no, how about this sink? Well, okay, I don't want to use too much of Horse Ranch because I do have another book on this list that's literally it's literally a Western, so I don't want to use too much Horse Ranch because I don't want the Amish build to look country, like a country build. I think we might just do these like super basic city living counters actually. The wood burning stove, yes, this one. Everything is wood because Amish are known for being like wood crafters, so like everything needs to be made out of wood or look handmade. Like this is a one-person apartment. Obviously each of these is one person, even if the book is obviously going to have multiple characters. So we might just have to do a bed and a sitting area. Again, I much prefer styling apartments like this because I don't like to do large spaces, especially when I'm having to do like 8 of them. It's just much more manageable to do tiny spaces, and it just kind of adds a little bit of a challenge. If you want, you can go check out my fairy build that I did not that long ago. I think like a month ago now. And I did every apartment is a different fictional fairy, and those were really small too, like probably about the same size. So I quite enjoy these tiny apartments. Ooh, we could do this base game couch. This would work really well. Okay, we're gonna move everything around one more time, y'all. We're gonna figure it out. We can easily make this livable, okay? I knew you guys doubted me. I knew you were thinking there's no way you're going to fit all that into that tiny apartment, and you were wrong. I'm just saying, say you're sorry in the comments below. Just kidding, but I actually think it's really cute. It's definitely a tiny apartment, but we got it all in there. It's giving, they don't use electricity, that's for sure, and I feel for them. But obviously we've got our little seating area, with our little laundry, got our kitchen, wood burning stove, a little bit of art here and there. Obviously we got our pots and pans hanging on our handmade holder there, got our wicker baskets, got our broom and dustpan in there, got our little bed area with, I just pretended like the coat rack was where like she was hanging her clothes. Maybe this is like her apartment within her parents' house if she were to go back and visit them. And like now that she's not in the Amish anymore. And then just to remind you, we've got our bathroom. I really like the addition of all the scuffs and stuff. I feel like it makes it feel very lived in. So yeah, we're gonna move on to the next book. I think this turned out really cute. Oh guys, I totally forgot to give her a stripper pole. I was so like invested in the Amish aspect. I totally forgot about the stripper pole aspect. Dude, this book was so wild. Like, I had to block out some parts of it. Oh no, guys, what are we gonna do? Sorry guys for the confusion. I got a little carried away with the Amish country vibe and forgot what the whole point of this video was. Took me a minute to figure out how to combine this, but in my head the story is like she has a room at her parents' house, and that's kind of like where she has her personality hidden because like they cannot let everybody know that their daughter is a stripper. I don't want to go much beyond that because if you want to know, just read the book. It's a little wild, but gave her the pole, obviously. The costume trunk from Love Struck, which fits in perfectly. And then I just tried to like fade it in to the like country vibes. It's basically a fever dream living in this apartment. Yeah, I actually think it's cute. I was a little worried for a second, but you know, it's looking pretty cute. She's even got her little family Amish made couch and it's pink. You know, what more can you ask for? All right, now we're going to move on to the next book. Coming in 6th place for the month is called Lucky Red by Claudia Cravens. This is essentially a Western historical romance, but the main character, it's like a sapphic romance, so the main character is queer, and essentially she was like kind of on her own, like traveling the prairie with her dad. He ends up dying and she finds herself in Dodge City and becomes a paid worker for certain activities, if you know what I mean. I'm not trying to get this video taken down by YouTube, and then like the story is basically about her like finding herself in that job and like finding friends and kind of like learning like how to take care of herself and who to trust. And there's like a little bit of romance, but it's not like the main theme of the book. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. It was a little slow. The book was very descriptive. This was this author's actually debut novel, and in that respect, I give her major props because it is a super descriptive and beautiful book. But it was really descriptive. So I wanted more of the climax, or I wanted more of like what was leading up to the climax to happen earlier on in the book. Because I found that there was a lot of filler, and then finally when, you know, the big thing happens, it was like, okay, cool, that's happening, but now the book's almost over. I think the author did a really great job with that, like really creating and setting the scene. I truly like could imagine every single, you know, setting that she described, like the brothel that she worked at. I was able to picture that perfectly. I was able to picture the town, but unfortunately that was like the only part that I really loved. I didn't care about the plot so much. Now, I did listen to the audiobook, and the audiobook was phenomenal. The narrator did a really good job taking on the role of these like super country voices, and she did a good job of like varying that for every single character. And not all audiobook narrators do that, so I really appreciated that. So I'm just going in and I'm giving her a cute little room. In the book, she does have her own room in the brothel, and this is where she entertains her customers, if you know what I mean. I think suitcases could be really good for her because she kind of like, it's kind of a story of travel and like discovering yourself and also like found family, and so like she was on her own for a long time, so I think the suitcases could be a really good indicator of that. I wonder if I sort by horse ranch in decorations, what stuff pops up, because I feel like there's stuff in this pack that I could use that I do not typically gravitate toward. Oh, we can definitely do like this wood burning fireplace. That would have been cute in the Amish apartment too, but we were running out of room. There was no adding any more things in there. She really is into horses in certain parts of this book, so maybe I'll give her like a little horse wall figurine there. Add in a couple macrame decorations. And then maybe we just stick this big old painting of the prairie up here. Like she looks at it and thinks about her dad. And in the book, he does die in like a little house in the middle of nowhere. So maybe that's what that is. Just like a standing lamp could be cute in this corner here. Oh yeah, I like this base game cornerstone lamp. It's just giving me like vintage vibes. I feel like it fits in this like Western themed bedroom. Super simple, but that's gonna do it for the bedroom for Lucky Red. So let's go ahead and move into the rest of the apartment and see if we can get that vibe out here too. And I think I'll do curtains at the end because I'm not sure about those yet. Ooh, okay, what if instead of making this like a person's apartment, right, we turn this room into like the bar brothel area, and then this is like her bedroom where she takes her customers. So like she works in here and this is where she takes the customers, because I think that could be really cool. 3-tile bathroom when you first walk in, unfortunately. Maybe we change the tile to be like a crusty and dusty, like a saloon bathroom would be. Yeah, that should work. And I'm actually going to pull in the same columns that we used over here to kind of hide up the window edges. I am not that concerned with the windows being cut off slightly. Okay, so we've got our bathroom. The seating area kind of doubles as a living room and dining room. And back to the bar area. I think we tuck that in this little corner here. And I think this base game Delight bar, which I think was maybe an update that like a recent addition, I'm not sure. But I think this one would work really nicely. It's a little crowded, shocker. A coat rack in this corner here. I really wish I had like a liquor bottle display, but I do not. We have the one in the game, but it's pretty modern looking and I don't want to use that. Okay, so I think we can only do one table, which is fine because we do need a kitchen. Yeah, I'm gonna switch that bar out for a 1 or a 2-tile bar. Replace that with a bar stool, leave the wood burning. Feel like we need lots of broken stuff in here. It's a brothel. It's probably not very well taken care of. Now in this book that actually wasn't true. This was one of the nicer brothels, but in theory, like even in the book they mentioned that most of them aren't as put together as the one that she works at. I would really love to get a card table in here. I'm wondering if I want that instead of the bar, because playing cards and gambling was also a big part of this book. Maybe we'll try to get a wall hanging bookshelf here. Maybe we do the same thing here that we did with the mailboxes and move them up to look like they're stacked. Okay, it's definitely doing something. Change this light out, something like that. Add some candles everywhere. Actually, I feel like more of these lanterns would be great. So maybe we tuck a lantern up here, get a lantern in the corner of the kitchen, maybe get a candle in the middle of this table, and then maybe also just a little vase of flowers. Nothing fancy. Oh no, an ashtray for sure. Low-key, I kind of like these. None of the pictures I'm seeing has any window coverings, so I guess that's fine. I was gonna try to find some weapons to put out, but I don't think the game has those. So I think now the last thing I need to do is just clutter up the walls with pictures and art and some old-timey looking things. So let's go ahead and do that. And then I'll meet you back when I am done. Here is the completed and fully cluttered apartment for Lucky Red by Claudia Cravens. I really liked the idea that like this apartment is the brothel, so I obviously still needed to make it functional for Sims. So we still got a kitchen here, tore up the walls a little bit, added in some spider webs. I will do the ceiling momentarily. Have a little seat for our patrons here, a place for them to warm up, play cards, you know, hang out, hang their coats, stay a while. I added a lantern into the bathroom, added a mirror. And then obviously, as you saw, we go into Bridget's room, which is where she entertains her customers and spends her days. I think it turned out really cute, and I think because I never do like Western country themed builds, it makes me want to build like a full farm, like a full like off the grid farm. So let's hop in to the book in 5th place, which is a total jump from this theme. Moving right along to the book in 5th place, which is Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. This is actually a horror novel, so a huge jump from the erotic memoir and like historical fiction queer genre that these two books are. In this book, it is actually based in the 1970s, and it's about a bunch of teenage girls who get pregnant and are basically shunned by their family. So they are forced to like go to this essentially like group home for wayward girls. So it's who are pregnant as teenagers, and their families are essentially ashamed of them and are like, okay, you go there, have your baby, and when you're done, you come home. And since it is in the 70s and it's also witchy themed, I want to make the apartment kind of like bohemian witch vibes, and there's a lot of like Pinterest inspiration on this, which you can even look up. But the 70s had a lot of bohemian textures, lots of macrame, and then like the witchy vibes I want to include moon and stars kind of look. So I think this is a good base. Let's see what we want to start with. Okay, I think we'll start with the sleeping area. But first let me wall off a bathroom. So if we walk in, we maybe do like seating, like living and kitchen here, and maybe like a bed here. So maybe we just do another 3-tile bathroom. I think that would be fine. Let me go ahead and put a door in just so I do not forget. Biggest difference between the 60s and 70s that I saw is the 60s is like true mid-century modern. The 70s is still mid-century modern, especially in the shape, but this was like where we started seeing a lot more textures and colors and Woodstock vibes. So like, you know, peace signs, flower pillows, butterflies, those kinds of things. You also see a lot of earth tones, so like burnt orange, or like earth green, emerald green, earth toned blue, those kinds of colors. So I'm trying to keep that in mind as well. And we're looking for furniture that, like I said, is mid-century modern. So like very much like this, straight legs, round tops. Maybe we could even get her a little record player on here. I say her, this book actually revolves around several girls, so I don't mean any one, but this book is about a lot, like a group of pregnant girls in this home, And I think the Cozy Kitsch kit could have some cute art for this like 70s vibe we're going for. Thing like this. And then let's put some string lights in here and make it super cozy and like witchy. Cute, cute. Instead of like shag carpeting for the whole thing. Maybe that's just like just her room is carpet or just the room is carpet. I think that could be kind of cute. The only thing is it's by the door, so it's a little like it's a big change. You know what? No, we're just going to keep the whole room the carpet. We're going to go with our gut there. Oh, it would be really cute to include a bassinet like to represent like their children. The book is kind of like a big like F the patriarchy vibe. Essentially they discovered witchcraft and they're trying to like empower themselves and take control over their lives because a lot like most of the control has been taken from them as like pregnant teenagers. It's very like empowering. I just felt like the witchcraft wasn't as big of a part as I was hoping it was, so that's why it was not higher rated for me. But it was still a good story, and Grady Hendrix is like a world-renowned horror author. Like, you really can't disappoint with Grady Hendrix. And this book was just not what I was expecting. And maybe I just read it in the wrong season. Like, I do wonder if maybe that's part of it. Oh yeah, this mirror would be perfect. Get lots of like macrame basket textures in here. Ooh, we'll definitely get these dried herbs in the kitchen area. Oh, we'll do this little stack of stationery, like maybe the girls are writing home, telling their families about what they've been up to at the house, and that does happen in the book, so I think that would be a cute little touch. I feel like as much stuff that makes it look like they're practicing witchcraft, the better. We'll find a book that represents the actual book of witchcraft that they found. And actually the book that they find, books play a big part in this book because the way that they find this like witchcraft book is every week or every 2 weeks a librarian comes on this like little bus, and she comes and the girls pick out like one approved book that they can read for 2 weeks, and then they have to like wait until she comes back, and one of them ends up getting like a book of witchcraft from the girl who drives this like bookmobile. And yeah, that's kind of how it all gets started. We'll move on to the living room area, and I'm wondering if we have couches that sort of give that 70s vibe. Maybe we do like a green. Oh yeah, green velvet. That fits the 70s bill for sure. Oh, this is perfect. This is mid-century modern at its finest. So we'll actually maybe do that there. We're gonna give them the old TV. Very cute. We'll do this like yellow Cozy Kitsch kit light. And then I feel like we need some vinyls for sure. And sorry if what I'm saying like doesn't make any sense. I cannot talk and build today for some reason. It's feeling very dark in here, so I might throw in some saucer lights just for the extra lighting, and we can just hide them. Tuck the couch into here. Part of me wants to still bring that wood back in here, but just like in the living room area perhaps. Okay. Upon further consideration, this is how I decided to do like the bedroom area. I just separated off the bedroom from the living and kitchen space with a half wall, made that room carpet, and then over here we will place the kitchen along here, and we have a little more wall space to work with that way. We'll go like for this wood looking fridge. I feel like that makes the most sense. Alright, here's the layout that I've come up with. So when you walk into the apartment, you're gonna walk in to the living room, which is how we originally had it. It's a little tight quarters, but it's fine. They're studio apartments, everybody. And then you're gonna walk into the kitchen, and then obviously walk back to the bedroom, and then into the bathroom. What I'm trying to figure out right now is kind of what to do to fill this space. You can't put a table because you won't be able to fit Sims through there if you put chairs. Actually, that reminded me, I'm going to change the tile in the kitchen to like a green to make it more mid-century modern. Yeah, maybe just behind the counters, and then maybe there's like a column we could get. Okay, and then we need some floral curtains. These plant curtains, very cute, very on brand. And we'll kind of change up the colors throughout. Maybe they've gone into the forest behind the house to gather these leaves themselves. That is something they do quite often, is go out into the forest behind the house, and they're not supposed to. Ugh, free the columns. I hate that they're trapped. Like, you can't freely place them. It's so annoying. Ooh, this fireplace could be fun. Like, it's in the kitchen, but I feel like it could be a fun little like architecture piece. Like, it's obviously not a usable fireplace. I did throw together a little bathroom over here, just some orange tiles, a shower, and a toilet. They can just use the kitchen to wash their hands. They'll be fine. Here is the completed apartment for Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. I think it's really cute and boho, and you know, I think it pretty much encapsulates the like witchy vibe I was going for. I don't think I nailed this one, but I also don't think I failed it. Extra clutter here and there that I did off camera, including like a fan here since it is hot and there's no AC, mentioned several times in the book. Soap for the sink, just some clutter on the fridge. I, as you probably could tell, switched some of the art around. So put this frame collage here by the door, and then put this frame collage here by the bedroom. Now we are going to move on to the book in fourth place for the month. The next book on my list, which is number 4 for the month, is, or fourth place for the month of July, is The Girls That Grew Big by Leila Mottley. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. This book just takes place in present day, kind of like a poor part of Florida. They live near the beach, really near the swamp. It's just a story of young moms and kind of them struggling to support themselves, most of them without their family's approval of getting pregnant as a teenager. And yeah, it's a very real story. It's not anything fantastical or crazy. It's definitely, you know, something that happens every day. And I myself grew up in a poorer part of Florida, much like the areas where they describe in this book, and I'm pretty sure I know where this book is kind of referencing a lot of the times. I'm not going to name it, but that being said, I actually was able to find some homes for sale on Zillow that gave me kind of the vibe that I wanted for this home. And again, it's very much reminiscent of what I'm familiar with, so this should be pretty easy. It's also going to be really simple. I'm going to make it kind of run down because that is the idea throughout the book, is that, you know, they're all in search of like a nicer life and to be able to take care of themselves, because a lot of them come from families and homes where they're not able to, and that's why their families are not in a place to support them having kids. And this is again this is not an insult to anybody. Like, I myself, like I said, grew up in a very similar situation to the families in this book, so this is just a representation of how I kind of viewed these families in the story. Really, it's nothing crazy. I'm going to be using a lot of A Winged Llama's this pack, the Nostalgia Living Stuff pack, just because a lot of it is really run down and fits the vibe pretty well. We're gonna go in with some broken blinds. I don't use these too often, so it's kind of fun to finally be able to. I might mix up like which ones are down all the way and which ones are up halfway. Okay, I'm thinking because this story is about like a bunch of girls becoming family and bonding over the fact that they are young moms. They do spend a lot of nights together, kind of taking care of each other. So I think for this one, to kind of represent that, I'm going to grab a set of bunk beds and then tuck it back here, and then we'll save some room for the living room and kitchen items over here. If possible, I would like to fit in a bassinet, but we will see, because literally this entire book is about pregnancy and motherhood. Maybe this like kind of rickety bunk bed. No. Oh no, let's go with the wood. All right, so the matching bed would be Dream Home Decorator. We could do the same bed or we could do something different. So one of the girls in the book, one of the main girls, is actually kind of like a privileged girl from the East Coast. She's a swimmer. One of the other girls is from that town, cast out by her family, having a baby, and she's trying to escape basically an abusive relationship. And then there's another girl who is kind of being fawned over by her baby daddy, but she does not want the life with him. She actually got into a bunch of colleges and she wants to leave that town, but she's finding it really hard to get out of there and like justify leaving her baby to go to college and kind of take care of herself. And if a lot of the other girls are kind of giving her backlash for that too, like they can't understand how she would choose her own life over being a mother essentially. And those are kind of all the stories that we follow. It's really emotional. It's written really beautifully. If you like sort of like character studies, I highly recommend this book. I think it's something you would like. Another like popular book I'm trying to think that's sort of like a character study is like Binding 13, the Boys of Tommen series. They're very long books. They have very low plot, but you're basically just following this group of people and like their day-to-day life essentially. That's kind of what this book is reminiscent of. There is like kind of a conflict, but that's not necessarily the whole point. Like that's not what you're waiting on. You're just sort of reading about the girls. So if that's something that you enjoy, you might want to pick this book up. I think it was just published maybe like a month ago. It's fairly recent, and my library just happened to have a copy on the new release shelf when I went there one day, and I was like, oh, like this has been on my radar, so that was really cool. Over here for their like nightstands, I just put in a couple milk crates. I thought that would look just like thrown together. So then I also thought this would be a good opportunity to use Sibulette's Ready or Not CC set, which is really cool because it has a functional baby crib that looks like a laundry basket. So let me see if I can find that. Oh, sorry, I said Ready or Not. I meant Scruff and Stuff. Yeah, so this laundry basket actually is a infant crib, and then this ironing board is a diaper changing table. That's pretty. Okay, we'll leave that there for now, the ironing board, but we'll see if it stays. It will depend on everything else, but we'll definitely leave this. That's really cute. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the kitchen because we need the most space. Also, before I jump into this, I am fully aware that this kitchen is not functional. I think I mentioned it, but there was just nothing I could do. I kind of bit myself in the ass by making these apartments so small, but it looks cute. So if you want to make this kitchen functional and download it, really you would just need to probably switch the couch, get rid of the TV, and then just add a counter over here. Anyways, I'm gonna go for the same pack, the Scruff and Stuff pack here as well, because it comes with some really good dingy counters. I don't want them completely broken, or at least not all of them. All right, I think this is a pretty good kitchen layout. It's fully functional. I will do the cluttering at the end like I have been, And then I think the ironing board diaper changing table can just be like a room divider of sorts. So then we'll go in with the couch and we'll just make this like the tiny living area, probably with the same nostalgia living set that we got from a Wing and Llama. I think I'm gonna go in with the Ordinado set and see if we can get like maybe a TV with messy cords or something like that. Or, oh yeah, this TV stand that has all the cords and stuff sticking out of it. We could probably size it down. I'd have to do something with the TV then, but that could be okay. Yeah, it is kind of weirdly shaped when you size it down, isn't it? This coffee table, I could easily size down and do something like that. And then maybe they use it as a TV stand. Okay, I think that's looking pretty cute. I think it's looking pretty similar to what I had in mind. And then maybe a rug here somewhere. Ooh, this shag rectangle bath rug. I want to put this in here. I did throw together the bathroom off camera. I don't know if I said that already. Because I wanted to make sure I had room for this sort of tub and shower combo since there are technically kids in this apartment, and I just wanted to go ahead and make space for that. So that's why I did that. Let's see if there's a towel on the floor I could throw instead. Oh wait, I could do this. This makes it look like there's a towel over the shower. Oh yeah, towel on the floor here. I can like make it a little off center too. Okay, I think I like that. Now, I think lastly, I just need to go through and add some clutter everywhere, and I think that's it. That one wasn't too hard. This is the completed apartment for The Girls Who Grew Big by Leila Mottley. Again, I apologize if I'm saying it wrong, but I think that it looks like it's a young teenage single mom's apartment, and that was exactly what I was going for, so I'm proud of that. Just kind of spruced up the walls with some art. Maybe they've thrifted some things, maybe it's stuff they've taken from their home that they used to live in. They're in the middle of doing laundry, their kids' toys are everywhere, but they're still kids themselves, you know. The kitchen is a mess, but they're trying to make it look cute. They've got, you know, their kids' pictures hung up on the wall. They're trying to make it look like a home for their kids, but then obviously one of them maybe still managed to color on the wall. Going into the bathroom here, not much has changed except I added in just a little height chart for the kiddos there. Oh goodness. Just a little picture there that maybe they picked up at Goodwill or something, and then added a little rubber ducky into the shower that the kids play with. Alright, this next apartment is the one I'm most excited to do. It is called Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman. And basically the premise of this book is so aliens have essentially taken over planet Earth, and the way that it was done is that they like essentially flattened every building, any like structure on planet Earth. Anyone that had survived that gets offered a chance to participate in Dungeons and Dragons, but it's a intergalactic reality television show, and like all of the humans that have survived are tasked with competing for survival in front of like millions of other alien planets and people watching and stuff. And the way that they do this is they have to not only like survive against other people that are going down into the dungeon, and they call them crawlers, but they also have to survive against like monsters that they've put into the game. Now they're like actually aliens from other planets and things. But yeah, it was a really fun read. There's actually 7 books in the series and I'm really excited to keep reading it. So my idea for this apartment was to kind of go with a mix of like an RPG gamer, so like kind of those game rooms that you can go to with like figurines and board games on the walls and on tables and stuff, mixed with like a Fallout shelter or like from the game Fallout. So kind of like think Doomsday Prepper meets RPG gamer hideaway, hideout, bachelor pad thing. We'll see how it goes. I'm not really sure how it's gonna look, but we're gonna try our best. So I know for sure I want to go with concrete walls and concrete flooring, because this entire reality show is in a dungeon. It's 18 levels and they are trying to get to the 18th level, and if they do then they can survive, but nobody's ever done that before. So anyways, the idea is that they're going down, so it's in my head mostly concrete. Very wacky but very good and hilarious. Also the audiobook is supposed to be really good, so I'm really excited to dive into that next for the second book. So I'm just gonna start by putting kind of like a thrown together, like we grabbed what we could room for the bedroom. This is gonna be like survival is the number one goal here, not for it to look cute. I think I'll delete these saucer lights and go ahead and put these light bulbs in a couple places. I'm gonna come back downstairs to the apartment we just did and grab these crates, because I think that'll work really well for this bedroom too. And a lot of the like storage and like shelving in here, I want it to be those shelves that have like stuff all over them for the garage. Yeah, stuff like this. Think about like how you're scavenging things. In the book, he is getting loot boxes when he kills things, and then the viewers of the show will like sponsor you and send you loot boxes. So he's kind of just collecting things and using what he can essentially. So I want this apartment to feel very eclectic in that way. I know we have a table that is like a pallet, like a wood pallet. Oh, right here. Discover University. I think this screams a Fallout shelter. I think I might just like throw it at the end of the bed, and like instead of like a formal couch, I'm thinking of just like pop-up chairs, like these chairs from City Living, and then we could do one of these from For Rent. For the window coverings, I'm definitely thinking of the tarps because they're just hiding from the outside world when you're in a Fallout shelter. In terms of the book, I'm thinking these are like the safe rooms. So in the book, he can go to safe rooms and essentially you can't be attacked in there, and that's where he can like open all of his loot boxes and things. It's kind of funny because in the book some of the safe rooms are like BMV lobbies or like KFC dining rooms. Like it's so random. Like the aliens have chosen the most random things to be like represented in the dungeon. It's so funny. And then for a rug over here, I don't know what they would have. Maybe newspaper to like clean up messes or something. Maybe we'll put some cracks just to kind of give the room some more dungeon quality. Oh, and in the book, this is like, she's one of the most important characters. So he gets stuck in this dungeon in this reality TV show with his ex-girlfriend's cat, and this is on the back of the book, so this isn't ruining anything, but basically his girlfriend cheats on him and while she's like on vacation, and so he still has her cat. And so when all of this happens, outside saving the cat from like being in a tree or something, and then the cat turns into like one of the most important characters in this dungeon, Miss Princess Donut. So it's quite hilarious, and like I could totally see her forcing him to give her like really fancy food bowls and things in their safe room. Ooh, or this alien one actually fits the vibe because like they're on an alien TV show. And then maybe for the same reason, maybe like one of their sponsors sent her a cat bed to sleep in, and it was like UFO. Oh, I don't know why I said cat bed. This is a feeder, which is perfect, actually. This is the one. And it's really funny because in the book, the cat has way higher skills than Carl, the main character, does. And so he just gets so pissed off at the cat. But I feel like they're definitely learning to love each other, and it's going to be a good character arc for her. Do the stars. I feel like that's kind of cute. So let's figure out bathroom and kitchen. It's going to be very minimal because, again, this is a fallout shelter. Just a 3-tile bathroom is probably best in this one too. I kind of want to change some of these colors to like a fun, yeah, that'll work. Okay, maybe just like a mini fridge that they found. This is all they were able to save. Grab a counter. I want to go with bright colors just because it is like retro gaming vibes that I'm getting. I think this is the layout of the kitchen I'm going to go with. And just a couple counters, a cabinet, an open shelf cabinet. I'm not sure if I'm going to put anything up there yet. I did this oven from Cibulette that is essentially like a portable gas stove that they've found. And then I put the mini fridge over here with the trash can, put some newspapers under it. I'm gonna place these like treasure looking boxes, almost as if this is all the loot boxes that they've collected and been sent, but they cannot open them until they get to the safe rooms. And maybe Princess Donuts are pink. We could put some of these broken tiles, but maybe that would be a bathroom thing, because in my head, like, this area already has a bathroom, which is why I didn't put a sink in the kitchen, because there was already one in the bathroom, and obviously they wouldn't be able to like add plumbing. More cat prints. I actually love this for this build. I could see Princess Donut making Carl decorate outside their door with this rug. I like the idea that Princess Donut has tried to convince Carl to like spruce the place up a little bit. So like maybe a singular plant seedling or something. Just for fun, we give them a cookbook. Maybe it's like a recipe book that they've been gifted in the game or something. And like maybe it's actually like potion recipes or spells or how to create explosives or something, and we just have it in the kitchen here. Maybe the aliens used a cookbook shell because that's what humans had, but that's not what's inside of it. I know I want to get some graffiti. Maybe several crawlers through the dungeon have come in here and left their mark. So like maybe Carl and Princess Donut did not do all of this. I like the idea that somebody, maybe not Carl and Princess Donut, have attempted to grow their own food, but were not successful because they're in a dungeon. I actually don't know if they need to eat or not. I can't remember from the first book if they've like needed to eat or if like they don't get hungry. I know they get tired, but the rest is unclear. Ooh, I like this old fan. Okay, this is giving Dungeons and Dragons tabletop game vibes. I think we'd put that in this apartment. Maybe like stick a mirror in here somewhere. Oh, maybe parts. Like they're trying to see what they could build out of this stuff. Make it look real grimy and dungeony in here. All right, I think after some off-camera cluttering, this apartment is done. I added in some figurines here. Maybe they are like plotting and planning with these to figure out like how to attack certain monsters in the dungeon, and those like represent certain monsters or aliens in the dungeon. And then I also feel like it represents some of the little like figurines you play with and people paint and sell for Dungeons and Dragons. So kind of a double whammy. Added a couple more crates in this corner, added in some trash, beer bottles, some cobwebs, obviously the rusty fan, their loot boxes, added in some pantry stuff. Obviously they would not want to eat the boxed food, but just the cans, some water, and then in the bathroom it's super simple. Just a really shitty toilet, and then I put some dirty dishes on the sink as if like they're piling up in here, no one ever washes them. And then because I needed to put a shower but I couldn't move the window, I did just put it here. It is still functional. Just pretend that they have like a bucket of water that they're like pouring on their head into that drain right there. That is the end of the apartment for the book Dungeon Crawler Carl. I highly recommend reading this book if you liked the vibe of everything I talked about so far. So already going to move on to the book in second place. This one's going to be really quick because I'm going to do the next book, which is Trauma Plot by Jamie Hood, as this stair landing. Trauma Plot is a memoir. Jamie Hood is somebody who this book has a lot of very sensitive topics in it. She has experienced repeated sexual interaction without consent. I don't want to use certain words and this video get taken down, but it is quite sad. She's experienced it several times, and it's kind of just that she's a researcher, like she's an academic, and there's like a lot of discussion around like her self-worth and why does it keep happening to her. It's so rare that it happens to one person repeated over and over like it does to her, and it kind of like she feels like that is all she's good for, is like for men to take advantage of her. She has a lot of very honest discussions about her depression, being suicidal, not feeling like she is worth any like real love or affection. Yeah, it's really sad, but it is seriously like one of the most beautifully written memoirs I've ever read, and I'm a big memoir girly. I've read probably at least one memoir a month in the last 2 or 3 years, so I read a lot of them. Again, it's a very difficult book to read. It's sad. It's not something that you will enjoy reading, but I do think it's eye-opening. Like, this stuff is happening, and it's not happening the way it happens to her, to everybody. Talks a lot about the Me Too movement, talks a lot about believing victims and, kind of what that actually means, not just a statement in a magazine. So because of all of that, I looked up like brutalist architecture styles, and like, because I feel like I want this space to kind of reflect how vulnerable she is in this book. So it's not going to be cluttered. She feels very raw throughout the book. She kind of takes that and like, if goes to therapy and learns who she is with, outside of all of this horrible stuff that has happened to her. Maybe something like this from my fitness stuff. Maybe we could get a window covering in here. All right, I'm gonna actually double the lighting in here because it's so dark. And then we can grab what about this from Get Famous? That's kind of cool. I think to finish off this room, I'm going to put one of these like ridiculous fake plant sculpture things in here. I mean, maybe it's real, but in here it's going to be fake. All right, we've got the super simple Stay Landing for Trauma Plot by Jamie Hood. Off camera, I just added a little bulletin board, representative of her, like writing down her feelings and kind of dumping out her thoughts. And then I kept it, sorry, the camera's going crazy. I kept it real simple over here, added in, a fake greenery in a couple places, a couple lighting sources, some decorative sculptures, decorative books. And then this is what it looks like from the top. I think it's really simple, but I feel like that's the best I could honestly do with this book anyways, since it is a memoir. It doesn't have like this crazy setting that I can really like do an apartment based on. So we are going to go ahead and move on to my favorite book of the month. All right, moving over to our last apartment, which is for my favorite book of the month, You Should Be So Lucky by Sebastian. This apartment is going to be a 1960s style apartment. It is about it's about one baseball player in the 1960s New York who is closeted and struggles with like being honest about this, because in this time there could be repercussions, like he would lose his spot on the baseball team, on the pro baseball team. And then it also follows a reporter who is assigned to the sports beat on his newspaper and to interview this specific baseball player, and he is also gay, and it's essentially about them both struggling with having to keep their who they love a secret while also falling for each other. Literally was the most beautiful romance book I've ever read. It was beautifully written. It talks about a lot of sensitive topics in terms of homophobia, and especially back in the 1960s, where you could literally be fired and publicly exiled for that fact. So because this is the 1960s, we're going to do wood paneling walls, and then we're going to keep the kitchen and bathroom area tiled. And then I was thinking of just doing like shag carpet everywhere else. Like right now I'm looking at houses in another state, and all of the homes were built in like 1960, 1970, and they all have like this ugly carpet. So could we make it look nicer? I think we could. We can use a different carpet. I want to try to fit in a fireplace because that is like very typical of the 1960s, 70s living rooms. Almost always like built in. Something that is so cool about homes from this time era is how many like gadgets the kitchens and stuff had too. Like the microwave was built into the cabinets, or it had like a pop-up tea kettle or like water warmer, and that just isn't a thing anymore, unfortunately. Okay, so we're able to get like sort of a built-in fireplace wall situation here. I went ahead and walled off a bedroom area. We'll see how much room we actually need. I'm wondering if I want to do a double bed because it's technically about a couple, or if I want to just do it as one bed. The apartment that the reporter lives in, which is where we spend most of our time in the book, like his ex's apartment who passed, and so it's like a lot of stuff that's not his and it's not personalized. I think we can get an orange couch in here that gives a mid-century modern. We do have the interior decorator home, what's this pack called? Ooh, this orange might be good because I'm seeing a lot of orange and green couches in like a conversation pit. I don't want to do green again because this apartment over here was set in a very similar time period and we already did a green couch. So I want to try to change it up if I can. Okay, I really want to squeeze in the chair, but I don't know if realistically, like space-wise, that's gonna work. So we might just have to say bye to the chair. There might be a different one that we could add in that's smaller but still the similar style. So like this screams mid-century modern to me. Like you always saw like weird shapes like this. Even in this green. Oh yeah, that's a good one. All right, here's the shape layout I'm ultimately going to go with for the living room. I did decide to switch this to a single bed. I know that kind of sucks, but I really wanted to have this like built-in living room look because that's very common in living rooms from this time period. So I think once we pull it all together, it'll look really good. I want to get some fun shaped lights in here because I'm seeing a lot of that in my inspiration. Quirky lighting, honestly. Like, I mean, this is more boho, but I'm seeing a lot of weird shapes going on here. I mean, this is kind of like stuff that I'm seeing. I think we could do some fun colors. That's a theme of this time period. Just put another one for now. That might change, I'm not sure. For the bedroom, I need like a low nightstand or something with thin legs. I need something with like wood slats on it. Okay, I'm gonna go with this just because it's giving a little bit of what I want. And then now that I'm looking at new pictures, I'm thinking this round light, this one. All right, this is the final layout of the kitchen that I'm going to go with. I think because in the inspiration for a lot of this, I only really see a lot of plants and like useful items like coffee pots, plates, and things like that, but I don't have room for all that. I'm going to just quickly put a plant in the corner here. Now this would not be functional unless you have a clear counter, so if you decided to play in this build, please just keep that in mind. I think that's going to do it for the kitchen. The very last thing that we need is just a light. And I'm thinking of just doing maybe another one of these pendant lights just because I'm seeing it sort of everywhere, and I can even just size it down so it's a little bit different. Let's do the orange. We'll carry the orange in from the living room. Let's go ahead and start cluttering up the living room. So really, it's very minimal in terms of like what you see on the wall, but I do want to get a couple pieces of art sorting by orange and green just to make sure I can pull things with those colors. This almost looks like something that I'm seeing, like kind of abstract art. I know it's women, but this one you really can't tell. Oh wait, you know what? That might look pretty above the fireplace. Okay, let's keep it there and see if anything else pops up that excites us, but I like that. So like I was saying, the apartment that in the book that the reporter is living in is actually his ex-boyfriend's who no longer is living, and he was very rich, and so he had a really nice apartment with like a fully stocked bar, and that's why I was saying the reporter never like fully felt like it was his apartment because it's not really like his style. Now the baseball player is like living in a hotel most of the book because he's just moved to New York to join this team. So I am going to make sure to include baseball things here in a minute. I'm just trying to get the basic clutter. Like I feel like this is kind of giving like rich apartment. And then if I just search maybe sports, like the pile of equipment or something. Ooh, something like this definitely fits the vibe with the hat and everything. I'll go with this little console table thing here. Maybe they have gotten each other flowers and we will put those here. Ooh, this would be a good one to get in here somewhere. Running out of room. Put it right next to the couch there. We'll get one of these hanging plants in that corner there. I love this plant. And then maybe we will just grab like some clutter, like keys. You wouldn't have a cell phone in the 1960s, so pretend it's a pager, or, ooh, no, it's the reporter's recorder for his interviews. And then they loved to put a rug over a rug, so we will grab a little rug for this room. So in my mind, this is the reporter's apartment, but like in the book, the baseball player's coming over all the time, so he's kind of leaving his things and getting more comfortable. Let's go ahead and grab a rug for the bedroom. I think that's a good color too. Something I added earlier was this breakfast in bed tray, because there's like a part in the book where the baseball player is doing something really sweet for the reporter, and I won't say what it is, because if you like romance, especially queer romance, historical fiction, I think you should read this book. But he does bring him like little treats, so I actually also put like this little coffee cup and croissant from the bakery up the road here for him. And then also I need to remember that the reporter has a dog. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the bathroom. I am seeing a lot of orange tile, so we're gonna just keep to that theme the best we're gonna get. I think that's fine. I think this is the best I can do. Hopefully it's functional. If it's not, I'm sorry. All right, I'm gonna give you the final tour of the 1960s baseball and player and newspaper columnist apartment. So we've got our entryway with all of our little sports clutter there. We've got our dog bowl to represent the dog he has in the book. We've got just some little things here, nothing crazy. And then when you turn around here, you walk into the living room, which is a tight squeeze, but we have our built-in fireplace moment, which I think is adorable. And with the fire going, it'll look really pretty. Got an extra little seating option there. We've got our couch with a little cake for entertaining, obviously. In the kitchen here, we have a tiny little kitchen, but everything you need. And then in the bathroom, oh my goodness, we just finished up cluttering everything. Just some little things here and there for them to do their business. And then finally, what I changed in the bedroom is I added a little desk with a typewriter so he can write his newspaper articles and some scrap ideas that he's had, and then gave him a little bookshelf. And then over here I did this as if like he's framing maybe the first article he was ever published in or something above his bed. And then I'm just realizing that I forgot curtains in a couple places. I'm actually, I think, just gonna do blinds for these couple of places. Okay, now that I've got blinds in, this room is officially finished. Just some little personal touches here and there. Added the blinds out here. And that is going to do it for our final apartment. Alright y'all, well that is going to do it for today's video where I built an apartment building, but each unit was inspired by a book I read in July. If you're a reader, please give me some recommendations down in the comments below. I love to read new things, and I don't typically read what's popular either, so if it's something that you wouldn't typically recommend, throw it at me. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day or night wherever you are in the world, and I hope to catch you guys back here soon in the Lavender Lounge. Bye, friends.